It's Daf Yom Yerushalmi Terumos Terumos in the article Oz Bahar edition. We're on Daf Yud Amud Aleph. In the Vilna edition, we are on Daf Hey Amud Aleph, towards the bottom. Chizkiya Amar Lomru Elazesim Al Shemen Banavi Al Yain. No header here, just Chizkiya. There is a dot in the article. Chizkiya Amar. The war is still going on. Yes, many soldiers were killed and wounded, and we should be in Schus Yerushalmi. We should see Yeshua's v'nechamos. So we are starting from Chizkiya Amar. Um, Our Mishnah is talking about specifically that the truma is not truma if it's oil, olives on oil and grapes on wine, because there's a tremendous tircha and hefsed in making the wine and the olive oil, and it's short shrifting the Kohen. But other things, the produce, legumes, fruits, no, they weren't. They not. They didn't find the person who took truma for something which is not nigmar malachto and something which was nigmar malachto, and we have a truma so truma. Uh, so for example, according to this, took truma from oranges or orange juice, then it'd be okay. Um, Lo shan no, lo shana he zaysim al shemen of nabim. He zaysim al shemen nabim yain. He sharkol dvarim. He says no. Anything where there's a possibility of gevzel shevet, even if it's not effective, and this is therefore oranges on orange juice would not work because it's shevet because they mix more oranges to make orange juice than orange juice. If that makes sense. Like yesterday we had the 4 zaysim in order to make 2 saw of oil. Similar thing would be true about oranges. Chavraya b'shem Rabbi Yochanan, the Chevra said name Rabbi Yochanan, va'afilu al asar. Even if the Peros and Gemurim were in the same place, the Peros and Gemurim, and they were minamukaf, they were together in the same bunch. Even this Basil says ain't Trumos and Truma. So that is Chiddush because it's talking about where they're both fruit. Question the nigma malachta, not nigma malachta. I'm not talking about fruit on juice or juice on fruit. So therefore, it's a chiddush, but it's saying that akekach that if it's not on nigma, not can't take truma on meisus on something which is nigma malachta, but something which is not nigma malachta. Rabbi Rabbi Mishem Rabbi Yochanan said, divrei Beis Shammai, according to Beis Shammai and Mishnah, and our Mishnah said, im tarmu Beis Shammai in trumas asa ben Beis Shammai in trumas truma. So according to Beis Shammai, Nasik Omer, it's like a person who says, Harezu Truma Oleh, Valshel Mata. It's when you separate the oil as Truma on, separate olives on the oil. So you included the olives with the oil and you were mapish all of them, meaning on the olives in your hand and together with the oil. And it's like a person says, this should be a truma on the olives in my hand, and on the oil below in the bore in its storage area. So the kriyas Hashem was first on the zaysim, and then on the oil, and therefore Beis Shammai hold it takes effect on the olives, even though it does take effect on the oil. That's what it says here. Now it's going to raise a truma oleh on the olives, about shematan on olive oil. Therefore, even though it can't take effect on the olive oil, it already took effect on the olives beforehand. Chanina Savar Meimar, Rabbi said that is bimino, that we only say this by olives on oil, which is no, sorry, no, we don't just say olives on oil, where it's like mino and ano mino, but also if you take off oil on oil. So it's as if you're saying, I'll take off first on the oil in my hand and then on the rest of the oil. Bimino, right? Amalei Rabbi Zero, he said, Lo Kain. So he said, you can't say that. That's not true. But why? Became Shomar Hare. Once you say Hare, Harezu, sorry, not Harezu, Nifta Mashiach, according to you, Rabbi Chananya. According to you, once you say Harezu, Nifta Mashiach, so that if you're going to say it's a two-step process, then you already, it's not Pidyon, it's Lavdafka, but you already were my took Trumas to myself what's on your hand, and then you can't take off on anything else. Right? So the Chayim Shemar raises the Zu, Niftar Mash Biora Bashar Chulin, the rest in his hand is Chulin. The Chulin poaches the Tevel, so how's Chulin going to take off on the Tevel? So this is a question both on Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Yam Shem, Rabbi Yechanan, and Rabbi Chanina afterwards, right? On both of them, but it's mostly primarily the question. The first Rabbi Chanina, how can you do it in two steps? Doesn't work, right? Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Hillel, Ka'achas. Oh, so he says, no, it's taka doesn't work. It means that it's Ka'achas. Everything happens at once. We came and Zu niftar masha biyodo umasha niftar masha mata. When it says harezu, it does both of them together. Why? When he says harezu truma alea, the words are kind of dangling, and they only take effect after you express what you mean. Now, I think it was after Tokdi Diba won't work anymore. Everybody agree, right? Raise the Truma Alju, Masha Mata, might not work. But since it's one continuity, so then, again, the became Shoma Harezu, and you include, and immediately went in to explain it. It's a little bit chassid from the Sefer. Nifta Mashiadama, Nifta Mashamaton. The statement goes on both. I wonder if somebody actually changes the gears so here, makes it more gloss. Just maybe check the Shari Torah so a second. The Shari Torah so does suggest a slightly different gear, so but it's not. I'm not satisfied with it. But from looking at it, I understand there's a little bit of alumnus here, which one could say. He doesn't say this, but he inspired me to think of this. That you can't, since you have, it's kind of like where you don't say fake of, it's not mishapech. You can't turn around and start fake from this right here. You can't do it the other way around. You can't say the oil can't be truma. Evidently, the oil can't be truma on the zaysim. No, we didn't have that yet. I'm not sure if that's true, but you can't say hare. Well, yeah, besides that, you can't say hare zaysim elu truma al Hashem lamaton, and then zaysim lamalon. Maybe you can, but it's not the way people think. So people think it's the olives and then the oil. So it's kind of like an anatsadi that he meant to say bas achas. Perhaps something along those lines. Okay, it wasn't such a great as far as as it was when I thought about it. But okay, Rabbi Chanina. Chanina said, "Nir advarim b'tshuma gdola sheyitzricha lichom min hamukaf." This is our Mishnah, which says that by Beis Hill ain't shumas or truma, it's by truma gdola, which has to be you have to take of truma gdola min hamukaf. And he says by definition, Zaysim and oil is not minamukov, and therefore they're a koinis, which is really a new svara. But so that's what he says, not because Gezel shave it, but because, which we had yesterday, but because of, it's as if it's lo minamukov, because these things don't mix, so to speak. But B'trumas Meiser, which has to be precise, and that has to be precise. Evidently, you don't have to be termed Shalom Minamukov. Minamukov. You don't have to have Minamukov. So therefore, the Truma is Truma. And our Mishnah is not talking about that. That's the Kav Naki based on the Rosh Sevilio's Pshat in that Gemara. So the Gemara changes the gears here as an exact opposite. Really comes in the exact opposite. Pshat. He says, according to Gra, it's I wonder if Read Bas also says this. Yeah, he says it also. So I'm going to read out of the Read Bas. Hagrozag because Sabia Kocho Megia. He changed it. He tells me Omed has to be Tumagdol not supposed to measure, be taken by approximation. Avishas Meiser Tzurish de Mitzutzemes. Shumas Meiser has to be by precision. So the according by Chumas Meiser, you have to divide them in half, the olives and the oil. So I'd say you have to measure it, right? Very least. I mean, can אפשר לומר כיוון דאינו חל על חלק הזיסים של שם shemen. Oh, you know what? He goes off in a different tangent here. I don't want to go off his tangents. It's much more simple. Just to go with the scraw straight up. It says that by zaysim on the main difference is ba'omen. So I mean, amukov. The Kavanaki asks, I mean, amukov seems to be only psul the rabbanon, not psul. The shomin amukov only seems to be psul the rabbanon, not the raisa. Why should it cause the entire transaction be null and void? Okay, that's not yesh liyashev. But according to the Gra, the issue is like this: you take from olives on oil by truma gedola because you can only has to be approximation. So despite the fact that there's a difference in the proportions, because really 4 saw of olives produce 2 saw of oil, so it doesn't matter. So one big happy family you can take because all you have to do is approximate. But by Chumas Maisa, you have to be precise. So by Chumas Maisa, you have to be precise. So therefore, you have to measure, and you can't measure olives vis-a-vis oil. You measure olives vis-a-vis olives, but you can't measure olives vis-a-vis oil. So therefore, it says you can't do it with precision because you don't know how much oil these olives are going to produce. So you can't do it with precision. It's not going to work by Chumas Meiser. It's only going to work by Chumas by Chuma Gedola, which is exactly opposite of the way we just learned. We just learned it's mashma that Chuma Gedola it is going to work. Chuma Gedola it's not going to work. It has to be in a mukaf, and there's not by definition not being a mukaf. But Chumas Meiser will work because Chumas Meiser doesn't have to be in a mukaf. According to Gross gears, it's the opposite. Chuma Gedola it's going to work because it can be done by Omen. And Chumas Meiser can't be done because it has to be done with precision, and there's no way to take olives from olives off of oil with precision. Okay, Tamatzina. We learned over there. Where? Tami ain't Tomei Torah. You can't take the Chuma from Tomei Torah. You taught him b'shogeg Chumas Chuma. You did it inadvertently. The Chuma is valid Chuma. But maybe deliberately loss of lokum is garnished. It doesn't work. It's not effective. The Chachamim were misakin him. We're kindness him because he he deprived the Kohen. Kohen can't eat the truma tmeah. The title we learned this from Yossi im tarmi atam the Torah ben mishoy ben mezeh masho asa asui. But the Evid, if you did it's effective. Okay, fine. Hacham amar Yossi. What did we say in our? What will he say in our Mishnah? My time if there, Shkula Hefsei Kohanim, it's a complete loss to the Kohanim. It's not complete loss because they can burn it if it's Shemen Shel Tomei, but usually it's a complete loss. Atamar Mashal so also you say the evidence effective. Hacha then Kula Hefsei Kohanim. Here it's not a complete loss for the Kohanim. Right? Okay, fine. They have to make they have to go to the expense of making the olives into oil, but it's not a complete loss. So low koshkeit is not a kavachama that the average should be effective. Ashlech Tani b'shem Rabbi Yossi is telling the Bryce name Rabbi Yossi. Ain't term is Zayson al Shemen v'lo navi al yain. Then can't take from olives and oil, not from grapes and wine. We term you did so. B'shamin chumas atzon behem. The chuma of the olives, the grapes in themselves effective, not vis-a-vis the oil of the wine. So we ain't chuma so chuma. And he says, but still says if he did, the chuma is just null and void. So it sounds like even the evidence null and void. The tamnu and bem ashal asli. So why over there? If here it says null and void, why over there is it b'diavad okay? So the answer is tama tuma in mitzuya. Tuma is not a prevalent issue. People generally are careful with their tevel; it shouldn't become tummy. But them so people are not going to make a mistake and say you can take shus and mice from tummy on Torah because it's very not prevalent. So therefore, I'm not so concerned. I was saying Hashem, but olives and oil, yain and grapes and wine. Mitzuyin. It's a very frequent scenario. If you say the evidence is good, so then he will come to the conclusion that he didn't even do the chatchila. So therefore, we asked it. We said it's not void even b'diavad. So I just want to say no the halacha Yerodeh Simin Shin Lamalav Sif Samach Beis says Ein Tormin Shibolim Achitim V'Zeisim Al Shemen V'Anovim Al Yain. So obviously we do say Shibolim Achitim that because of the Tirach Eira does they have to say the quantum, and therefore it's not just solids and liquids, but even solids and solids if we're being matriach the kohen. And that's why we say Ein Tormin which we're Shulchan Aruch says Ein Tormin davar shnigmar mlachto davar shlo nigmar mlachto davar shlo nigmar mlachto davar shnigmar mlachto. It goes in both directions. But in Torah, truma so truma. If he did so, the truma is valid truma. So evidently, it's only by something where it's a tremendous tircha, like we said, stalks to grain to wheat, olives to oil, grapes to wine. There, Chazal said it's ineffective altogether. But if it's a tircha muerta, it's just between nigmar melachta and not nigmar melachta. It's not a problem. That's also what seems to be in the case of the Rambam. The Rambam seems to say the same thing. Okay, that brings us to the how far down the route we get? Pretty far. Okay, so it's almost at the bottom. But couldn't stop in the middle.